guys. I'm sorry, but we got to keep our questions pertinent to the information discussed, not concepts foreign to our discussion, please. I don't know how many times a day I say this, but please keep your questions directed at the information being presented, not on some other concepts totally unrelated to what we're discussing. If you have questions like that, hit me at the end of the day when class is over, not during class. All right, so I'm going to start. I'll bring up chapter 11, and we'll start our conversation about contracts, and then we're going to break for lunch. So where we're at right now is on chapter 11, real estate contracts. This chapter is going to discuss everything about a sales contract, what a contract is, what a valid contract is, how to make it enforceable, voidable. There's all kinds of issues with contracts we're going to be talking about. So at the end of this chapter, you should be able to describe the essential elements of a valid contract, including the effect of the statute of frauds. You should also be able to identify different types of contracts and issues that affect the validity of contracts, as well as explain various contracts used in the real estate business. In other words, let's buckle up, put our thinking caps on, and if you've pre-read the chapter, this is going to be much easier to talk about. So number one, our discussion about contracts must include what is a contract. And according to your textbook, number one, it is a voluntary agreement. Voluntary agreement. Can't be forced. You cannot be forced to participate in a contract under duress or undue pressure. It must be completely voluntary. It's a voluntary agreement between two or more legally competent parties to do or not do something of a legal nature. And it must be supported by consideration. What does that mean? Good question. Let's find out. So to have a valid contract, there must be four things present. Number one, there must be competent parties. So I'm opening this up for discussion. Who is a competent party to a sales contract? Who's a competent party and what makes them competent? Buyer and seller, seller and buyer, 18 or older, over 18, over 18, and mentally all there, including not drunk. Sound of mind and legal age, an adult that is mentally, okay, sound mind. Okay, good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the input. I'm going to moderate real quick. Licensed real estate agent, over a licensed real estate agent is the only one who can buy real estate or sell real estate? I don't think so. But let's look at this a little better. First of all, a competent party. I'm going to ask this rather blatant question, and I'm going to ask you to be honest with me. Who of our students is a licensed, certified psychiatrist or psychologist with the ability to identify emotional or psychological disorders? Who is? Anybody out there? Caitlin Lizette, does that mean you're a documented psychiatrist or psychologist? DOC, I'm not sure what that infers, but Caitlin, are you a doctor of psychiatry or psychology? Doctor. If you are a medical doctor, then you're probably licensed as a psychiatrist, I would assume, and I don't want to assume, but if that's correct, then great. I have my minors in psych but not a doctor. Okay. So here's the situation. We may have one or two, maybe, that have the ability to understand a person to determine if they're competent. But that's one or two out of many students, which means most of you folks don't have the ability to determine if someone is mentally sound. So remove that from your list of criteria. What? No, I'm being very serious here, guys. I'm going to moderate here. You, most of you, except maybe one or maybe two, do not have the ability to diagnose and ascertain mental illnesses. I do have a degree in psychology, but it doesn't qualify me to label people as psychotic, sociopathic, or anything else. I don't have that ability. I'm not a learned person in the trade or stuff. However, I do know about human behavior from observing it for over 60 years. That still doesn't qualify me to determine someone's competency. But there are some questions I can ask to determine if someone's all there. In my interview with them for the periods of time I spent with them, I'm asking questions like, what do you think? What's your impression of? How do you feel about? What's your reaction to? And I watch their body language. I listen to what they say. And if I feel that they're cognizant and aware of what's going on and giving me constructive input, then I'm going to determine that they're probably all there. But if I'm suspecting that they're not fully there, I may then ask another question. And that is, if we're putting a contract offer together, I must ask this question: is everyone who's required to be present during a signature of a contract here with us today? It's quite possible someone may say, no, I'm supposed to have a guardian or something with me. Well, then you better stop. Call that person on the phone and say, if this is true, when can we have you in the office to proceed with this? They may just say, I'll be in right away and we'll take care of it. Or my charge doesn't have the ability to make that decision, so you should stop what you're doing. Guys, you have to ask questions to find out information, and you have to ask a lot of them. So again, we can help ourselves in understanding human nature and human behavior, but then ask the direct questions. Is there somebody else that's supposed to be with us when we sign contracts? And that may help you understand. But that's just one aspect of competency. So many of you folks said, yeah, they got to be 18 years of age or older or an adult. Correct, they do. However, the law does not disallow contracts with minors. It is still legal to enter into a contractual agreement with a minor. However, by doing so, you're running very special and highly risky scenarios. I'm going to get into that a little later. But according to the state of New Jersey, you must be 18 years of age or older to be an adult, or you have been emancipated by law, meaning you either got married or a judge declared you independent and able to take care of yourself and you're treated as an adult. So this is just the first of several discussions we're going to have this afternoon. It's 12 o'clock. It's time for our lunch break. So we're going to hang on here and stop our conversation and continue it at 1 o'clock. The conversation is open. You guys can chit-chat amongst yourself in the next minute or two. Lauren or Noelle or one of the gals in the office is going to come online and talk to you about administrative questions or concerns. And I will rejoin you at 1 o'clock. So hang on if you got questions. They'll be on in a minute or so, and I'll see you back here at 1.